Hey mama, if you're listening to this, you might be carrying a secret that feels too heavy to speak out loud. You look like you got it all together, you serve at church, maybe you even lead a Bible study. You smile when you drop off the kids, but no one sees the other side of you, the one that comes out behind closed doors. At home, you are a completely different person. You yell, you explode, you scream at your kids, sometimes in their face. You tell them to shut up. You grab them too harshly. You throw things across the room. You smack them in anger, twist their ears, spank them in rage, and immediately after, you are hit with a tidal wave of shame. You cry alone in your room and you whisper, "God, what is wrong with me?" You feel scared and disgusted by your own reactions. You're terrified that someone might find out. You wonder if your kids would be better off without you. You feel unworthy, broken, and too far gone to be redeemed. You try to fix this on your own. You listen to podcasts, parenting books, download freebies, but nothing changes. You keep falling back into the same patterns, and it feels like you are stuck in a cycle that you can't break. You don't trust yourself anymore, and if you're honest, you are afraid of who you've become. But here's the truth, Mama. You are not beyond hope. You're not alone, and with God's help and the right support, you can change. I'm Elizabeth, a mom of 4 and an anger management coach for Christian moms. And inside my Calm Christian Mom coaching program, I guide women just like you through a powerful transformation. This isn't shallow behavior management. We go deep. We address your triggers, your stress, your mindset, your nervous system, and the spiritual root behind your patterns. We invite God into every layer and walk hand in hand towards healing. In just 12 weeks, you can become a completely different mom, unrecognizable. One who leads with patience, not panic. One whose children feel emotionally safe around her. One who cultivates peace. This summer, I'm offering a Calm Mama strategy session, a powerful 15-minute one-on-one coaching session designed to help you uncover the root of your anger and receive spiritual, emotional, and practical support. It's your chance to experience what coaching is like with me before diving deeper into ongoing support. If we both feel like the full program is the next right step, we can talk about what that looks like for you. You don't have to keep living like this. Your family is worth healing, and so are you. Use the link in the show notes to book the Calm Mama strategy session. Have you had a time where you envisioned something going a certain way with your kids, and then that circumstance happens and it completely goes a different direction, and you feel really, really frustrated because your kids are not doing what you thought they should do or what you want them to do? And then you feel really frustrated, annoyed, irritated, and maybe feel angry. Well, in today's episode, I want to share with you how to adjust your expectations in the heat of the moment. So if you've ever struggled with anything like that, when you have unmet expectations, then this episode is for you. Welcome to Emotionally Healthy Legacy. I am so glad that you are here. I am thrilled that you are listening to this show, to this podcast. I have a story to share with you. This literally happened just yesterday, and I'm recording this the day it's being aired just because I had this inspiration of sharing the story with you, and I think it will be helpful for you. Yesterday, I decided to go to the beach with my daughter. I know, it's November. We live in Florida. It is still in the 80s over here, and I thought, you know what? How about on a Tuesday morning, we're just going to go to the beach with my toddler because my boys are in school. I'll put all the household tasks on hold. I had to tell myself that because my mind has the running to-do list of all the things that need to get done. As you know, as moms, we always have things on our plate. And I thought, you know what? Let's go to the beach. My daughter is 3 years old in a few months. And I thought, you know what? I think she might be like in a good place where she will like sit next to me and play with her sand toys. And, the water's getting cold, so we wouldn't be swimming. And then the beach that we go to, it's just kind of like the waters and the waves are really like big and riled up. And so we wouldn't be swimming. It would be just sitting on the beach, her playing with the sand, and maybe I could read a book. Maybe I could even write in my journal. So that was my vision, but I was thinking was going to happen because my daughter was in a pretty good mood. I grabbed some snacks thinking, okay, she will just sit next to me and play with sand. Well, that was my expectations in my mind. That was my vision. And we get to the ocean and the expectations were not met. And I quickly realized things were not going to go the way that I thought they were going to go. Well, first of all, she wanted to go into the water. And if you have a toddler who's 3 years old, I kid you not, I think three-year-olds are more challenging than 2-year-olds. They have more of, especially if you have a strong-willed child, which I'm confident my daughter is, they have a tendency of clearly telling you, I want this or I don't want this. And they are going to do everything they can in their power to get what they want. And so my daughter wanted to go to the ocean, and the waves are so strong and they're so they're just strong and pretty big. And so it was a red flag day. You shouldn't be swimming. And I told her to stay in the chair while I go grab and put some water in a bucket, and so she can play with that water. Well, she kept following me into the ocean. And I was feeling really frustrated because, I told her to stay. It's not safe. I told her, stay in the chair, not safe. The water is not safe. I need you to stay in the chair. She kept following me. And then when I did bring the water back, she started to play with the sand, and she did not want her feet to be dirty with sand. She did not want her hands to be dirty with sand. Well, that's really tricky when you're on the beach, obviously. And then she wanted me to feed her snacks. And I knew that if I give her snacks, if something falls on the ground, it's going to get dirty and ruined. So here am I thinking that I am going to sit here and journal or maybe read a book. And instead, I'm feeding my toddler snacks, and she's washing her feet and her hands in those buckets and putting her foot in, taking it out, putting the other foot in. And then it's, obviously getting dirty again. And as well as, she wants to go to the ocean, and I'm telling her we need to stay here on the sand because the water is not safe. So the vision that I had to read a book, to journal, was not happening, not even close. And I really had to adjust my mind because what I thought was going to happen, the facts and the reality is, my daughter is in a completely different perspective, and she wants completely different things. And if I try to fight and try to get things my way and force her to do what I want her to do, and she's still her own separate person, you cannot control other people. You can influence, you can impact them. You cannot control your kids. And if I keep trying to force her and control her, I would feel really frustrated because I can't. Versus learning to adapt and going with the flow and adjusting your expectations in your mind. This is what it is. It's not what I wanted. And how am I going to adapt? So I literally had to tell myself, this isn't going the way that I thought it was going to go. I am choosing to adapt, which means I'm going to pause the idea of journaling and reading, and I will choose to do that at another time, maybe before bed. And I am choosing to be present and available for my daughter. And I'm choosing to adapt and go with the flow. My job right now is to keep her safe, make sure she doesn't run off into the water, because if I'm sitting there trying to read a book or journal and I'm slightly distracted too much, she might run off. And as you know, toddlers are extremely fast. You blink and they disappear. So you got to watch them literally the whole time. And then the other thing is, it's like sunny and breezy. And if I was there by myself, I would have totally taken a nap. But that wasn't happening. I had to keep an eye on my toddler. Well, I had to adjust my expectations, because if I kept trying to press and force things to go the way that I wanted them to go initially, I would feel very frustrated, agitated, annoyed, reactive, and maybe be rough with my daughter. I remember the story that one of my old neighbors shared with me. Her and her husband and their two little kids, they had a 2-year-old at that time and a 6-month-old. They were traveling overseas to visit her family, and they had a really long flight overnight. And obviously, like any of us adults who are on a plane that is like, a flight that's 12 hours long, what do we want? We want to take a nap, especially if it's at night. Well, the truth is, when you have a 6-month-old and a 2-year-old, chances are it's not going to happen. And you need to adjust your expectations. Well, one of the things that she shared, that her husband was feeling really frustrated because he wanted to take a nap. Or at first he wanted to watch a movie and then he wanted to take a nap. And she was taking care of the 6-month-old and he was taking care of the 2-year-old, and the 2-year-old was not having it. She couldn't fall asleep. It's a different environment. You're on the plane, it's loud, all the things, right? And the 2-year-old wasn't falling asleep. And he was feeling very frustrated because he wasn't getting what he wants, to watch a movie and then go to sleep. And therefore, the expectation, that thing that he envisioned in his mind, wasn't being met. And he was feeling very frustrated. And that happens to us a lot as parents. Mothers, fathers, doesn't matter. It happens often on a regular basis when we envision a certain thing to go a certain way with our kids. Maybe we even communicated those expectations to our kids, and then those expectations are not met. We feel really, really frustrated. And one of the things we first need to ask ourselves, are my expectations realistic? Are my expectations realistic of traveling with a toddler and a 6-month-old, a baby, to be able to sleep on the plane and just be uninterrupted? No, it's not. It's an unrealistic expectations. And if you have that expectations in your mind, obviously it's going to be unmet and you're going to feel really frustrated. So first, asking yourself, what is realistic of my children and their age that they are right now? It's normal for a 2-year-old to not fall asleep on the plane, especially if it's a different environment. She doesn't have her crib, whatever it might be. It's normal for her not to fall asleep and have a hard time. It's normal for a 6-month-old and common for them to be fussy on the plane when the noises are loud, the environment is different, when they're used to having their routine. It is normal. And if I expect that that is normal, I will be a lot more compassionate and understanding, and just versus having the expectations of things to go perfectly, right? So that is one thing. Like for me, going to the beach, is it an unrealistic expectation for my 3-year-old to sit next to me and just play quietly with sand toys for an hour? Well, for some reason, for some women, it's not unrealistic. Some people have toddlers that will do that at 3.5 years old. They have chill toddlers that are the ones that have a personality that maybe go with the flow more easily, and a toddler that's more cooperative, a toddler that is afraid to be away from their parent and is going to stick around. So maybe that's a realistic expectation for your kid. And I know my daughter, that expectation was slightly unrealistic for her. She likes to run off. She likes to be independent, doing things her way. She has a tendency of being strong-willed and being very persistent and wanting to get what she wants. And I'm learning to navigate how to parent that still. And that was an unrealistic expectation of my daughter. Possibly could be realistic a little bit down the road, but right now it wasn't. And I quickly realized that when I got there. So I had to shift my mind and redirect my mind. Okay, what I thought was going to happen isn't happening. The facts. It's a fact. My daughter is not liking the sand. Her hands are getting dirty, whatever. These are the facts, that she needs to be watched every second of me being on the beach. So what am I going to do next? What am I expecting myself to do? That's what my coach says, Tessa. She's like, what do you expect yourself to do when your expectations are not met? So when you expect your kids to do XYZ, maybe you even communicate it with your toddler, with your older child. I need you to do XYZ. Well, okay, great. Awesome. That's awesome. Maybe the expectation is realistic. You communicated the expectation and your child still did not meet your expectation. They still did their own thing. What then? What do you do then? Because the truth is, you're only responsible for yourself. What you think, say, and do in front of the Lord, when you stand in front of the Lord at the end of your life, you are responsible for your actions, what you said, what you did, what you thought, like what were your actions, what your thoughts were, what your voice said, what your demeanor was, because you are only responsible for yourself. Yes, you influence your kids. Yes, you impact them. You have a huge influence on them, and you cannot control your children. You cannot. Nobody can control their kids. And I think you quickly realize that as you become a parent, when your kids don't nap when you want them to nap, when they are melting down where you don't want them to melt down, when they are not potty training, when you want them to go on the potty, you feel so frustrated, right? Because they're not doing what you want them to do. You quickly realize you don't have as much control as you thought. When they're not eating when you want them to eat and the specific thing that you want them to eat. And unless you learn how to adjust your mind in those moments, you're going to feel very frustrated. And with all the other extra stressors that you might be experiencing in your life that are on top of your shoulders, you might feel even really angry, really reactive. And that might be the thing that pushes you over the edge to do something destructive and hurtful to your children that you later regret. All right. And so if this is something that you're struggling with, if you have unrealistic expectations of your kids, or maybe they are realistic and your expectations are not met, and you're having a really hard time responding, and you tend to react in negative ways that you're not proud of, with your negative thoughts, maybe you're harsh with your children. That was one of the clients that I worked with this year. I had them explain to me, what kind of mom are you right now? And one of the descriptions was harsh. I am harsh with my kids when things are not going my way. And I want to ask you, are you harsh with your children when things are not going your way? You are still in charge. You are still in control. You are still the parent. God gave you that responsibility. And you are responsible what you think, say, and do. You can still oftentimes get your kids to cooperate and get them to do what needs to be done in a way that feels good internally, and you feel good the way that you show up. Sometimes you can't. And then what do you do? What do you choose to do next? I had a story that I shared on this podcast several months ago, but when I was with my daughter, I was putting her on the potty before nap time or quiet time. She doesn't nap anymore. And I knew she needed to pee because she hadn't peed for hours. Well, she was telling me she doesn't need to pee. And I was feeling really, really frustrated because I knew she needed to pee. And she's like, no, I'm not gonna, because I knew that if I put her down in quiet time, shortly after she's gonna call me and tell me she needs to pee. And I was gonna be in a coaching call. And my other option was to put on a diaper on her. And I did not want to put on a diaper on her because I knew I wanted her to potty train. Anyways, right? And I had to decide, what am I going to do next? Am I going to, because I cannot make her pee. And time is running out. I need to be on a call in the next 10 minutes. What am I going to do next? Because I cannot control her. I can only control myself, what I think, what I say, what I do. What am I going to choose to do next? Am I going to choose to be harsh with her, raise my voice, spank her, and threaten her? Or am I going to tell myself, you know what? It is what it is. I cannot control her. I'm just going to choose to put a diaper on. This isn't ideal. This isn't what I want. And I'm choosing to show up on the call for my clients and be present and available, then have to pause 5 minutes and then go and have her go in the potty. Whatever, what am I choosing to do next? Because the truth is, you cannot control your kids. And expectations is a huge thing that creates a lot of frustration and a lot of negative attitude, oftentimes. If I can say one of the things that I struggle with negative attitude, that would be marriage. I'll be honest here. This is my area I need to work on quite a bit. In the area that I really need to adjust my expectations, because if I'm expecting my husband to do X, Y, Z and he doesn't, then I have a hard time with having a positive attitude, and I really need to intentionally work on adjusting. Well, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. How do I want to show up right now in this moment? What do I want to say? How do I want my husband to remember me handling this moment? Like, do I want him to remember me having a negative attitude, or focusing on the things that he did do and be grateful for the things that he did do instead of pointing out all the things that he didn't get to? When I was on my coaching call or when I was out with the girls that night, he did put the kids to sleep. He did have them brush their teeth. He did have the boys put on clean underwear. He did put my daughter to sleep. Everybody is fed. The kitchen's a little messy. What am I going to be focusing on? What am I going to be grateful for, right? And yes, maybe I was expecting everything to be perfectly. Well, maybe that was unrealistic and I needed to adjust my expectation. So I hope this was helpful for you, that you realize that your expectations are huge. And this is a huge thing that we work on actually in my coaching program. When you and I work together, if you need further support, I do have support available for you. And in my coaching program, we do have a training on unmet expectations and how to adjust your expectations. We go so much more deeper and we go through your personal scenarios that you bring to me. And you say, okay, this is my scenario in my life. This is what I'm expecting. This is what happens. How do I adjust my mindset? How do I make realistic expectations? How do I communicate my expectations? And how can I shift my thoughts in the moment when my expectations are not met? When I quickly realize things aren't going to go the way that I envisioned them to go, how do I change my thoughts in the moment? Because that is so powerful. You need to learn how to take your thoughts captive and redirect them in the heat of the moment, because your thoughts affect your feelings, and your thoughts and feelings create your attitude, and they create the actions that you take next. And that creates the results that you get. It is so powerful to learn how to adjust your thoughts, to realize, you know what, this thought is not serving me. This thought is creating more frustration. This expectation is creating a lot of more frustration. So how can I shift this in the heat of the moment? How can I tell my mind and create a new thought that is supportive, that helps me show up as the mom that I want to be for my kids, the wife that I want to be for my husband? My friend, I know I'm throwing up. I know, not throwing up. I'm throwing a lot of things at you. And I understand that this might feel a little bit overwhelming. And I want to let you know that if this is something that you struggle with, you don't have to stay stuck. There is a way out. One of the moms that just joined my program last week, one of the things that she decided to join my program for is because she constantly finds herself being negative and looking for the negative things in her son and in her husband and in circumstances. She constantly focuses on the negative things, and that creates the negative attitude. We work a lot on your mindset in this coaching program. If you want to learn how to take your thoughts captive and make them obedient to Christ, if you want to know how to be that calm, patient, loving presence in your home, that encouraging mom that is soft, warm, loving, compassionate, I want to let you know that there is hope for you. You don't have to stay stuck where you are right now, feeling like you're the only mom that yells and screams at her kids, feeling like you're reactive from the moment you wake up, feeling an edge all day long, feeling negative. Maybe your husband is saying, hey, what happened to you? You used to be so lighthearted and so easygoing, and right now you're so uptight and negative. Maybe your husband is the one that says, hey, you need to get some help. I don't know what's going on with you, but you're such a different person than the person that I married. And maybe you even hate the way that you show up for your family. I want to invite you to book a consultation call with me. I have some spots open on my calendar, and I want to have a conversation with you. If you scroll in the show notes, there's a link for you to click on. It says free consultation call, where you book a call with me and you and I get on a call. It's a Zoom call. We get to talk about where you're at right now. What feels really heavy? What have you tried that hasn't helped? Why do you feel stuck? What contributes to you feeling really reactive with your family? And why do you want to make these changes? Why is this important to you? And I will ask you some questions to help me understand a little bit the depth of the problem. And if I think that you are a good fit for my Calm Christian Mom 12-week coaching program, I will tell you more about the program and I will invite you into the program, and it is your decision if you want to take that next step. I would love to support you and be that support system for you. If you've tried stuff on your own and it hasn't worked, then this program is for you. Oftentimes, we try to do things on our own and it just doesn't work because we don't have the support and accountability. And I am here to support you on this journey. My heart goes out to you. I know what it's like just to feel reactive constantly with your kids and hating the way that you show up as a mom, just going to sleep at night and just hating yourself, how you showed up that day, and just knowing that you want to be a better mom, but just don't knowing where to start. I've been there and I want to help you because I am on the other side now. God has given me the steps over many years and taught me the things I needed to know to be the mom that I want to be and help me show up is the way that I want to show up. And so I want to invite you to book a consultation call with me. Let's talk. Let's have a conversation how I can support you. If this is something that you're interested in, the link is in the show notes. My friend, until next time. Hey mama, do you find yourself snapping over the smallest things, like spilled milk or constant whining, then feeling horrible afterwards? If you're tired of losing your temper and you want to show up with more patience, I have something for you. It's a free training called How to Be More Patient with Your Kids so you're not screaming over spilled milk. Inside, I'll walk you through 10 simple things you can start doing today to become a calmer, more Christ-like mom, even on the hard days. To get it for free, just leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts and send a screenshot to hello@emotionallyhealthylegacy.com. Or if you'd rather skip the wait, you can grab it right now for just $27. The link is in the show notes. Let's help you become the peaceful, patient mom your kids need.